The things here this evening.
Well, we got to break history. I don't think the Florida Panther Winnipeg Jet record is too flattering to us. It just doesn't seem like that from my time there. Like, hasn't been very good. So we got to get on the right side of that. And then it seems that special teams had played a big part, whether their power play was going or not. They put some pucks in the net. So discipline on the ice, discipline in our routes, and then patience in the game. These guys have got a real good hockey team, and they got a real good mixture of players. So they've got maybe the most dominant now checking line in the NHL with Adam Lowry centering it, and then they've got two really skilled lines that can create and make plays. So their game looks completely different based on the lines that come out of the ice, and that you don't see that as much anymore. So they're a lot to handle.
And Sasha Barkov, you only miss 2 games with him. That's got to be huge. Right?
No, we're lucky on that one because it could have been the season, right? 2 knees get together. We were lucky. So he healed up and he comes back in and he feels strong and he feels right, or we would hold him, right? We've kind of earned the right to be real careful with these things right now, and he's ready to go. He was close to playing the other night, and we held him, so it's good to have him back.
And Rick is back behind the bench.
Yeah, good for him. Right. The collective hockey community all understands how important it is when something serious happens to your family, that has to come first. So we're happy he's back, and Scott or Neil did a wonderful, wonderful job. They're a real good coach, so they're in good hands.
And you talk about the Florida-Winnipeg rivalry or whatever. It hasn't been good for Florida since the Atlantic.
It's not a rivalry. There are certain games on the schedule. So in Winnipeg, it was always San Jose, the 2 teams that get together, and it didn't really look like hockey, right? When we get together, it's usually it's intense. Like, there's some good banging and there's some anger. It's because usually neither team likes the way they're playing, I think. But exciting. There's usually enough mistakes on the ice that happen in these games that the fans are enthused.
And you're 0-3.
Yeah.
On the Florida bench against them.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't want to remind you.
I didn't think that needed to be brought up, George, but thank you. I think everybody understood. It's one of those understoods. All right, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Do you view Thanksgiving as a barometer in terms of where your team is at? And if so, what's your overall assessment of where your team stands?
Yeah, I don't in terms of that, like the idea of, there's 2 kind of themes that run. One is, how's your team playing overall? And then the other is, you got to make the playoffs. Right. So I don't. I like the way we're playing. Like, I like where we're at. That's not the entire idea. Of this is not to, hey, we're fine. It's, we got to get better. We got to get a lot better than we are. But I like where we are on the curve. We're in position to get better. So you're comfortable with that. But you never, like, it's a fool's game to get comfortable in the national. You can be playing absolutely great and we went through it. You lose Barkov and Bennett and a defenseman last year in December, and I liked the way we were playing, but it was hard for me to convince anybody of that because the question was consistency. Well, it's very difficult to be consistent in this league without your best players. Very hard to do. So you keep your fingers crossed that the things that you can't control don't bite your season. But I don't look at it as a marker in time in the regular season tells you where your team's at, because it's all going to change if you're fortunate enough to be playing in April.
And with the other lineup changes, Uvis getting in, it looked
So we took Uvis out. He absolutely did not deserve to come out of the lineup, but neither did anybody else. And for me, Dimitri doesn't deserve to come out of the lineup, but I'm going to have 8 NHL defensemen here very soon. And I won't come out and say I'm going to platoon them, because I won't. But I am going to work real hard at making sure a guy doesn't sit out too long. I also don't want to be jerking guys in and out of the lineup. So Uvis needed to play soon. He's earned the right to get back in. Dimitri's, those are big minutes. He and Mikkola played, and then big part of us feeling comfortable where we're at. So he's a really important part of the team. But we're going to have to get used to this a little bit, and the same would be for Steve Lorentz, right, with Barkov back. We got to get the 13th and the 7-8. They need to bring that energy when they're not, and then they need to be a positive force in our room, and I think all those guys will be.
And then the decision, do you keep Jonah in there just in case there's a physical thing?
No, I want to see him. No, yes. I mean, I think that's a combative role. I don't like pulling those guys in on the lineup either, because that's a hard job that they do. But I also need to learn something about him. We signed him for a reason. He came off an injury. He's been a long time since he's played. I've liked the structure of his game. He hasn't been out of position. He looks like he's physical. Clearly, he's willing. So I need to see him play some games before I make a decision on him.
Paul, is the adversity that you've felt this year with the injuries to start and to this point created that same kind of desperation that you had last year near the stretch to get into the playoffs by 1 point?
it felt normal for us to come in with 2 or 3 guys out of our line. It felt like that's the way we played all year, and certainly when we got into the playoffs, even, we know we got 2 or 3 guys with broken bones playing. Like, we felt in somewhat of a deficit almost the entire year, so that it was normal. We survived it, though, because between management and pro scouts, they fixed the problem in the summer. Right? We brought in guys, and Uvas Bolinskis is a perfect example of it. That's a name nobody knows, and he comes in, he played very, very well for us. Josh Mahura played well prior to his injury, but Kulikov and Mikkola and these guys and Ekman Larson come in played really important parts. So we were actually probably, from opening night of the season, we were a better hockey team than we thought we would be June 30th when we were assessing where we were going to be to start the year. But it's also a really good thing to have adversity. It's like you don't want to come out of the gate. You want to be playing your best hockey. That's everybody's goal. But you've got to be playing so much better hockey 7 months from now. So you don't want to be winning on your power play. You don't want your goaltender necessarily to be standing on his head. You want a little bit of that adversity so you can address the problems. And you can win some hockey games without everything going right for you, because that's the entire playoff run, right? You don't have momentum. You're not playing at home. The crowds you're always behind it in some ways in the playoffs. So that was the start of the first 28 games of us, kind of brought us back to where we were.
Any update on Mahura?
I'm going to say 5 to 7 left, and that might be long. I don't think it's 2 weeks. I think he's probably another just before the weekend or just after the weekend in terms of 7 days.
Do you bring him on this trip? Because there doesn't seem to be much practice time there.
That's going to be a team performance decision, not mine. So if they think we will have an off day, but your rehab guys skate on your off days, they have to come in. So there is 3 days of skating. And then when they get the handoff to the coaches, where we can really pound them. But Patrick Hornquist was in town, so he's our ace finisher. He's the guy that gets the guy from injured on the ice. So we'll let him work with Pat if we can.
Well, I didn't see Mike Riley out there. Is that an injury thing, roster move thing? Or?
Yeah, not an injury thing. That'll get announced later today.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay.